Often regarded as the last hope of the common man, the judiciary as an arm of government represents the pathfinder of truth for the society. In the last 3 years, Nasarawa State has witnessed institutional transformation across board, and the judicial sector has not been left out. The Abdullahi Sulei's administration has facilitated reforms by providing a conducive atmosphere for judges, rehabilitating existing court structures, and establishing a small claims court for business owners. Hello and welcome to Nasarawa Focus. I am Godwin Agua. It's a new era for the judiciary in Nasarawa State. Constructed by the immediate past administration, the State High Court complex was furnished and equipped by Governor Abdullahi Sulei. In it is a 21st century facility such as a modern lift, 4 modern courtrooms, administrative offices, to mention but a few. Apart from these, the state government also constructed 4 new high courts in Obi, Doma, Uke, and Kefi local government areas of the state. New judges were also appointed into newly established courts. This is aimed at giving speedy trials to cases awaiting determination and to congest correctional facilities across the state.
In terms of upgrading of courts, I think when the present administration came, we made a situation in which the headquarters of the High Court, the new building, which construction started from the last administration, had not been fully completed and therefore not yet occupied by the High Court. So the first thing the government did was to ensure that the headquarters building, which houses 4 High Courts, and the entire headquarters of the state judiciary was completed. It's a multi-million naira, hundreds of million worth of structure, and already a multi-billion naira structure. You can see it there. It's one of the tallest buildings owned by Nasarawa State government within the state. So it was completed, and then of course it was furnished, and of course it was equipped with modern equipment, with a lift and elevators, in order for comfort of our judges and lawyers who would be appearing in those courts.
Well, I can say that since the inception of this administration, we have placed a lot of premium on comfort of our lawyers, of our judges, of litigants. So to a very large extent, our courtrooms are very comfortable, very conducive for our lawyers and litigants.
Our amiable governor, he has passion for the judiciary. In fact, he's a friend of the judiciary. Under 4 years, he was able to create about 8 high courts. You can imagine, under 4 years.
A thorough renovation work was also carried out on existing court structures in Lafia, Karo, and other areas.
Working closely with the Chief Judge and the State Judiciary too, some few courts, all the high courts that are in the state of disrepair across the state, all the high courts are in the state of disrepair, from all the courts in Karo, 4 or 5 of them, to the courts in Kefi, 2 of them, to the court in Nasarawa, to the high courts in Akwanga, to high courts in Nasarawa, high courts in Lafia, the high courts in Duma, Obi, were all rehabilitated or new ones constructed.
Priority was also given to the structural upgrade of magistrate and upper area courts across the state. Even the administrative building of the Judicial Service Commission is a feat recorded by the administration. The Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria attests to the successes of the Abdullahi Sulei's administration in giving courtrooms a new face.
This administration have succeeded in boosting the welfare of workers, the living standard, the comfortability in offices. In the past, if you go to even a magistrate office in Nasarawa State Judiciary, it's an eyesore. You will not even believe you are in the magistrate office. But today, even go to just executive officer's office, you see how beautified, and you can attest to that by looking at my office. In the past, there was nothing like this. It's during her inception, during this administration, that the governor graciously approved to the CJ to build this structure. She built it. She built this structure and furnished it to this state.
To further portray the administration's resolve to provide a conducive atmosphere for judges, the state government procured vehicles for all strata of judges in the state.
The governor made approval for purchase of vehicles in partnership with the judiciary and the unions of the individuals themselves for them to procure 50 vehicles for all, at least 50 magistrates. And that also is a project that has been completed. We're now looking forward to provision of vehicles for the new magistrates that have been appointed after those ones have been defeated, because new ones have been appointed. So those ones now, discussion is on to see that they also allocated vehicles. So most of the magistrates and all the High Court judges and judges of Customary Court of Appeal and Sharia Court of Appeal have been provided with vehicles. It is their entitlement. First of all, let me make that very clear. Statutorily, they are entitled to replacement of vehicles from time to time. But unfortunately, sometimes due to lack of political will or lack of funds, government is not able to replace or allocate vehicles to them. So His Excellency General Ayesule, the present administration, ensured that when they become entitled to these vehicles, it is replaced or it is allocated to them. And as it is right now, all the judges of the High Courts have become entitled have been allocated to the vehicles in line with as required by law. And the Chief Judge of the state too have been given her staff car, which is a Land Cruiser, and all the other paraphernalia of the office as required by law.
For there to be proper adjudication, you must ensure that the judge is comfortable, and then you must ensure the security of judges. Can you imagine a judge going to court on, say, Okada, assuming he carries somebody who appears before him as an accused person? What's the chances that he will not be lynched? So, procuring vehicles is not just about luxury, it's a necessity for our judges.
For more than a decade, judicial autonomy has been at the front burner of national discourse. But Nasarawa State has been rated the first to grant autonomy to the judiciary by the Judicial Staff Union of Nigeria. This is courtesy of the deliberate and painstaking efforts of Governor Abdullahi Sule in giving to Caesar what belongs to Caesar.
We don't have any problem, and you will see the results from the submission they recently made, the Judicial Staff Union of Nigeria, JUSUN. The submission they recently made to the Nigerian Governors Forum, updates that each of the unions across the 36 states were supposed to make to the Nigerian Governors Forum Committee, monitoring the implementation of the autonomy of judiciary across the states. And the Nasarawa State got 90%, which is the highest and which is the best. So we are number one in Nigeria in terms of observance of judiciary autonomy.
When we talk of autonomy, we want the judiciary to be kind of independent, to be able to employ her workers, promote her workers when it is due. It's only Nasarawa State that have that privilege to do that. We get our subvention directly from His Excellency every month after the national subvention. Our check comes in bulk, and with that, the CJ have the power to do what he's expected to do. And virtually, I will place him as the best governor in terms of funding of judiciary, as per compliance of the autonomy of judiciary. I think I've gone round as a national officer in this country, and I know he is the best. Without mixing words, he's the best.
I can say with full confidence that as far as the current expenditure is concerned, we have full autonomy And in Nigeria, I can also tell you from our peer review, Nasarawa State is ranked number 1 on judicial autonomy as far as financial autonomy is concerned.
Upon assumption of office, the Abdullahi Sulei's administration was confronted with the daunting challenge of reviving the customary court of appeal that has been thrown into a state of comatose. To correct this anomaly, a review of the laws establishing the court was carried out, and the president and judges of the courts were appointed and sworn in.
These appointments have been done to place the judiciary on the right pedestal to discharge its responsibilities to the people of the state. Perhaps I should point out that in consonance with the posture of this administration, government has committed enormous resources into the development of the judiciary in the state, as was earlier confirmed by the Attorney General of the state. In this connection, government has ensured the appointment of the right caliber of people as judges and provided essential working tools for the institution, in addition to sundry welfare packages.
We found some courts whose turnover in terms of number of cases is almost 0, and therefore there were no returns from those courts. And the National Judicial Council had threatened to shut down those courts and therefore refused to approve the appointment of new judges. So in order to turn the tide, His Excellency the Governor directed that we should do everything possible, even if it means reforming the entire judiciary system to accommodate and create responsibility for those courts. We need to do that. So the reform took place, and 2 laws were sent to House, and then the bills have been passed: the area court law and the customary court law, which now reforms the entire system, which now gives more power to Sharia Court of Appeal and more power to Customary Court of Appeal to hear appeals from the lower courts. So that's the extent to which those courts have now become viable. As a result of the new regime of viability of those courts, the new judges have been appointed to those courts by His Excellency the Governor, and therefore the courts have suddenly become useful.
And the appointments of judges of superior courts of records were also made. When you talk of superior courts of records, we're talking of even Sharia and customary. Appointments were made. Courts were built. In fact, even the magistrate courts were also erected and furnished at the same time.
The administration has from inception given credence to gender equality in the appointment of judges in the state. No wonder the governor appointed a female as the first chief judge of the state, 25 years after the creation of the state.
As the chief judge of Nasarawa State, I will discharge my duties and perform my functions honestly to the best of my ability and faithfully in accordance with the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Your appointment as the Honorable Chief Judge of Nasarawa State is based on your record of experience, professionalism, patriotism, loyalty, and above all, your integrity in the proven responsibilities that you have been given.
The female CJ in the history of Nasarawa State is a blessing to us. We had CJs, but now that we have tasted a female CJ, we felt, in fact, we are even clamoring more female CJs should come back that will have the same character or the same mindset like this present CJ has.
We have 3 courts in Nasarawa State. You have the High Court, the Customary Court of Appeal, and the Sharia Court of Appeal. Of the 3 courts, 2 of them have female chief registrars, just to tell you how gender sensitive the judiciary is. And then of the number of High Court judges, I can tell you that 1/3 of them are women, and we're looking forward to having more. Then most of our directors, even in the Judicial Service Commission, are females. If you go to the High Court, you'll find the same.
In the last 3 years, the state government has carried out reforms on critical laws in the state through an executive bill. Prominent among these are the Child Rights Law, Administration of Criminal Justice Law, Anti-Kidnapping Law, among others. The government has also established a small claims court to settle monetary disputes of business owners in the state.
So we have 13 of them. We have 13 local governments. So in each of the local governments, we have 1 each. So that if you have a matter, you can always approach the court for assistance. And specifically the way they try their matter is faster than other courts. So it's for speedy trial, and most often the judges there, in fact, you can even come without a lawyer if you have a matter. So purposely they are designed to speedily try. In fact, sometimes we call it a summary trial instead of long adjournment. In this case, these ones, they don't do it. You can bring a matter today, the matter can be trashed today. Like I said, you mustn't come with even a lawyer. Sometimes people refer to it as even ADR, as alternative dispute resolution, where matters, issues are resolved amicably.
In the North Central, Nasarawa State is the first to create a small claims court. Small claims court deals with liquidated money demands for amounts not more than 5 million naira, and it's a very flexible court system. No technicalities. We try to encourage alternative dispute resolution, and you can even appear in those courts without having a lawyer representing you.
Given the unquenchable thirst for information communication technology (ICT) in virtually all sectors of the economy, the state government has started putting modalities in place for the introduction of ICT in court processes and sessions.
We also had training here where we trained our lawyers on the use of the new case management system, which we have been able to create within the ministry to enable the Attorney General and the Solicitor General to monitor the movement and performance of lawyers across all the courts. We have thousands of cases going on, some hundreds every day. So we needed to be tracking the movement of our lawyers. So a software had been designed, this case management software, which will enable us to know where our lawyers are every day and the status of each of the cases as they come.
We'll begin to have video conferencing court sessions. We'll have electronic affidavits, e-probate. We are trying to go paperless as soon as possible. Within the next 1 year, I am sure that you will not come to my office and even find files like this again. Everything is going to go electronic.
The state government is also giving priority to the welfare and salary of judicial workers in the state.
The 2015 harmonization law is an offshoot of the desire of the government to ensure that judges, and that's where I say judges, I'm referring to magistrates now, have enhanced pay. And the House of Assembly graciously passed the bill into law for the purpose of ensuring that our magistrates, our area court judges, and state council are comfortable. And the present government graciously granted the implementation of that harmonization law.
Now, we designed our what I call SIP, Secretarial Implementation Plan, with specific mandates and targets for each of the units, departments, and individuals within the ministry, and of which one is to reduce the volume of government cases, to make the system more efficient, both judiciary itself more efficient, and also the performance of our lawyers within the Ministry of Justice more effective and efficient. And then, of course, in order to achieve that, we require more hands. In order to achieve that, we have to educate. We have to ensure that our lawyers are trained and updated with the necessary knowledge and skill. And then in all this, we've added number of lawyers, excellency approved. We now have doubled the number of lawyers we inherited. And then, of course, as a result of that, the efficiency of the ministry has also increased.
These reforms in the judiciary is geared towards making the state safe and conducive for businesses to strive and by extension grow the economy of the state. The Niger Delta Power Holding Company of Nigeria is set to construct another 276 megawatts of solar energy plant in Akobra, a suburb of Lafia. The company are the owners of the 330 kVA Akobra Power Substation in Lafia, the state's capital. The general manager of renewable energy of the company disclosed this when she led a delegation on a courtesy visit to the state governor. The company is partnering with a US renewable energy company to undertake the building of 10 utility scales across the country.
NDPHC, to its credit, has 10 power plants. 8 have been completed and they are on the national grid. We have 2 under completion. And because of the challenges of gas and other issues, we diversified to renewable energy some years back. And that is because we have a mandate to provide infrastructure, power infrastructure across the value chain to enhance the capacity of power in Nigeria. And with that, we had the intention now to be able to do some utility scale projects. We got a partnership from a US renewable energy company, and they are being supported by the government of the United States. The proposal is to be able to establish 10 utility scales across the country, and to a total of 1 gigawatt, which is 1,000 megawatts. And looking at the conditions in the country, we thought we should site them close to where we have 330, 132. And though Lafayette substation is the newest of the 330, and because of the collaboration we had, Lafayette substation was listed among the first 5 to be started.
All we need to do is to go back and make sure that we pay because all this land belongs to the communities, so we have to go and pay them the compensation, properly, take it over and then carry out all the documentations and hand over the certificate to you. I do know that in order for you, knowing the way the US works, in order for you to be able to get any meaningful financial contribution from the US, you must have all your details intact. It's not anything that you will go under the table to do anything. So I do understand that one of your major requirements is to see that you own the land.
The Nasarawa state government has trained 8 financial personnel on the application of the National Chart of Accounts to ensure a realistic annual budget for the state.
And then what do you need to consider again? Plan, priorities, reflect collective.
The training is apt as budgeting is vital to government meeting its objectives. This will enable the participants know how to harmonize all the variables in the budget using the charts.
There's nothing a government can do without money. And if we are going to use money to achieve our set objectives, then we must be realistic in our planning, in our projection, in our estimates. Realistic in the sense that our inflow is almost always uncertain. In other words, the revenue we get every month is almost always uncertain. For that, we need to cut our projects down to the size of what we expect at the end of the month or at the end of the year.
Get the best that you can, so that when you go back, you step it down to those who are waiting for you in the office. The essence of training is for you to be able to know and train others. If you are not able to train another person, then you have not learned enough.
The Office of the Accountant General of the state believes that the training would enhance the state's budget performance.
This year's budget should be different. Let us look at our budget performance vis-a-vis what we intend to achieve. Because by 2023, what we want to do is at ministerial level, the commissioner will give approvals, and most of the threshold that we're trying to meet up now is that up to from 1 naira to 500 million can be approved within the ministry capacity. So we can only achieve that when we have a budget of reality. But when you just build up figures that you know that you will not realize the resources to make sure that you achieve the budget, there's no basis for that. So please and please, as you come, you work on the budget, put your mind that let us build a budget that will be able to successfully achieve based on available resources.
At the end of the training, every participant is expected to know how to prepare budgets using the National Chart template. Monthly report and budget performance reports from MDs will also be done electronically. And that wraps it on today's episode Until I come your way, same time, same station next week. Bye for now.